Awesome. So hello, everyone. I am Coach Hannah. I am the owner of Build to Burn Academy. I know a lot of you are a part of our Facebook community, and that's how you heard about this webinar, or you follow us on social media and heard about the webinar through social media. So welcome to all of you. I'm so excited to be hosting this webinar and teaching you guys about macros and how you can utilize macros to your advantage and your fat loss goals, especially come the new year. I know we all have goals for the new year. So does anyone want to unmute and share what their goals are for the new year, or they could be what your goals are for right now?
Feel free to drop them in the chat if you don't want to unmute.
I can share mine.
Yeah.
So a big thing for me is to just like increase my walking in general. So, I think a big one, does it have to be like macro related or can it be just in general?
It can be anything.
So yeah, just like incorporating, doing little things here and there, like not parking the closest spot possible and parking, a little farther away and just getting steps in and taking the stairs and just like taking every opportunity to move my body in a way that feels good. And like with daily tasks to make it super easy.
Love that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Who wants to share next?
Someone in the chat said increased strength training.
Love that. That's a great one.
I can share. My kind of goal lately has just been to really dial in on my macros. One thing that I was kind of like bad about, I guess, was just like using the label instead of like actually weighing some of this stuff. So I was like under eating or like thinking I was eating one thing and I was really eating like way over or way under. So that's been like a big goal of mine. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm doing laundry. And then also just like hitting my macros instead of like, oh, I hit one and like that's good enough, like trying to like hit and then build on that, and balancing that out has been like my biggest thing, plus adding in like a decent regimen of exercise. Oh, sorry guys, I am super out of breath from going up and down the stairs. And then just also like what she was saying, like I don't park near the store at all anymore. I park like literally the last space at the end of the parking lot and make myself do all the extra steps that I can.
That's awesome.
We have a couple people who wrote in the chat. So one's get bigger and stronger. That's awesome. Love that. And then someone else said, paying more attention to my nutrition in general and running a half marathon in the fall of 2023 are my goals for this upcoming new year. That's awesome.
Cool. All righty. So I wanted to share a little bit about us and who we are as Build to Burn Academy. Like I said, I'm sure a lot of you are in our Facebook group, but haven't necessarily like been live with us, or we see some new faces on here, which is so incredible. And I'm really excited to connect. But Build to Burn Academy helps women and men lose body fat and boost their metabolism so that you can have the body you want, but also make it last. We are all about sustainability. What works for you and your goals might be different than what works for someone else. So it's super important for us as coaches that we are personalizing the programming for our clients, but also building a community and a relationship individually with each and one of our clients so that we can help them be successful. So that's what we stand for as coaches. Day one, I am Coach Hannah and then Coach Shannon. We will be guiding you through what macros really are and how we can help you achieve your goals in 2023. Tomorrow, we are going to be diving more specifically into the breakdown of macronutrients and specific calories and what macros really mean. So we will go ahead and get started. Shannon, do you want to go ahead and do this slide?
Yeah. So obviously, if you're here, you found us again on Facebook or some sort of social media. So that's kind of really important to be able to connect with us. So one thing you guys can do if you're not is sign up for our email list. I'll put it in the chat here. So if you're not signed up, this is where we give out like freebies. We give nutrition tips, fitness tips, just guidance overall for your own personal journey. And then we also have our Built to Burn Academy Fat Loss Secret. So that's our Facebook group. If you're not in that, request to join it. Again, it's a huge community of people. And usually people are kind of on the same journeys, sometimes a little bit different, but it's a great way to like connect with people who have similar interests, similar goals and stuff like that. So again, lots of freebies and tips in there as well.
Yeah, and I believe if you guys signed up for the webinar, it automatically enrolled you into our email list, but did anyone not get the email about the webinar, or does anyone need our email list link? Because we can definitely put it in the chat for you guys. Everyone good? Cool. All righty. So stay tuned. Tomorrow at 7, Coach Liv and Coach Mick are going to be explaining how you can use macros to achieve your fat loss goals in the new year. And it doesn't have to be fat loss. I put fat loss here as just an example. It could be you want to build lean muscle tissue and be more toned. You want to gain weight in the new year. So many great goals, right? Or lose weight in the new year. Everyone's completely different, and we're going to be hitting on both of those. So first thing, I'm going to just dive into what macros are. So macros are going to be our macronutrients. This is going to be protein, carbs, and fats. And then we also have fiber. So protein is going to be used for muscle growth and recovery. And again, guys, if you have questions, please unmute or take notes and ask at the end or drop in the chat. So protein is going to be a huge important one for physique goals and fitness goals. So protein is about 4 calories per gram. This will be important, especially tomorrow when we dive a little bit further into it. Carbs are also 4 calories per gram. They are going to be used as energy in the body. I can't explain enough how important carbs are for you to have better energy levels, but also help you lose more body fat. Fats are going to be helping us absorb nutrients from other foods. So if we don't have enough fat in our body, you also could find as females, we might have a hormone imbalance, but fats are going to be about 9 calories per gram. And we'll kind of dive into like the quality of food and the importance of macronutrients and the breakdown. But macronutrients are just going to be your protein, carbs, and fats, and how much you need of each of them is going to be super important when it comes to your macro goals. Any questions about this?
I don't really have a question. I just want to say that I am so excited that we can actually have carbs, because I know a lot of diets, they like restrict you from that and tell you like, oh, like work out, do all this, run, lift heavy weights, but don't eat carbs. And I feel like that's why I've never been able to see a difference in anything, because I've been restricting myself of carbs. So I am very excited for all that.
Yeah, I remember our call, and like how you talked about even just being a good influence for your sister and your mom, and
Yeah.
been through that, and so many of us have as women, right? To cut calories, to cut carbs, that's immediately, I feel like, what we always hear. And it's so much freedom in like being able to enjoy food that you love, but also like love your body at the same time, right? And see those changes. So I love that you brought that up.
Okay, so next up, we're going to get into some protein sources. So these are like our healthy ones that we're going to list here. So again, protein is an essential nutrient. So carbs are the only one that isn't essential, but protein is essential for the body. So you need it to build lean tissue. You need it to look toned. Usually when you sit down with a client, their goal is to get toned. I hear this all the time. What that means is to have a low enough body fat percentage that you can see your muscle. So you need muscle to be toned, and protein is going to help you build this muscle. So it's very, very important. So healthy protein sources, try to look for something that has minimal ingredients. So some of the protein sources we recommend and we love are things like chicken, lean beef, ground turkey, white fish, egg whites, and then for dairy is Greek yogurt is a great one too. There's cottage cheese. There's tons of different sources. Anyone have any other kind of stuff that they eat for protein?
What I can hit on is also you can get protein sources from protein bars and whey protein or vegan protein powders, but it's super important that you're not overdoing it when it comes to protein powders or protein bars. Those are going to be a lot harder on your digestive system. You probably find that you're a little bit more gassy if you're overdoing it with the whey protein or the protein bars. They can have a lot of fillers and extra ingredients as well. So I always suggest to go for a lean meat source first, and then maybe have like one protein shake throughout the day to get that extra 25 grams of protein.
Yeah, exactly. So we got some comments here. Ground bison, great one. Lean pork chops or pork steak, and then protein shakes. Yeah. If you're finding you can't hit your protein goals, protein shakes and bars are a great option to kind of get an extra 20 to 30 grams. But again, it is better to get your protein sources from like whole foods is what we suggest. Yeah, any vegans or vegetarians on the webinar here? No.
All righty.
All right, we got meat eaters. That's good.
All right, healthy carb sources. So carbs are needed as our energy source. To find a healthy carb source, try to look for something that also has minimal ingredients. This is going to help for better.
Oh, too bad.
And also less inflammation in the body. Also, if you are, just make sure you mute yourself if you are not asking any questions. Carb sources, you want to look for something that has that's going to be better for your digestion, and that's going to be something that has minimal ingredients. You're also going to notice that if you're eating processed foods all the time, probably retaining a lot more water. You also are probably noticing that you have some inflammation, some digestive issues. Are we saying that you can't go eat Cheez-Its like once a week or whenever you want? No, but try to start off your day or throughout the week, try to aim for carb sources like white rice, sweet potatoes, veggies, fruits, cream of rice, oatmeal. These are going to have obviously very minimal ingredients and going to help you hit your macro goals. It's also a really great point when it comes to tracking your macros is it will be so much easier for you if you get your macros from nutrients like meats, then you can get your carbs from something like sweet potatoes, and then you get your fats from something like avocado, right? Keeping it very minimal when you go to the grocery store, which we can also email you guys a grocery list if that will help, is going to make tracking your macros a lot easier because you're not having to do all of the math or say you need to hit your carbs and then you scan in Cheez-Its. Well, that's also going to add a little bit of protein, add a little bit of fat as well, right? So it's going to adjust your all of the macros rather than if you just, put in white rice, that's just going to be carbs, right? So that's getting a little bit further into it, which we can kind of dive in tomorrow, but these are some great carb sources. If you want to unmute yourself, you can share what your favorite carb sources are, or like your favorite like high protein meal that you guys like to use for meal prep. Anyone?
While we're on the carb, we had a question. So which is better, white or brown rice? Does it matter?
Yeah, so Coach Liv can definitely answer that one, but I will say that everyone says that brown rice, this actually has come up a lot recently on like TikTok, I've been seeing it, but brown rice can have arsenic in it. So you don't want to overdo it with brown rice. I always suggest like a jasmine rice instead, but for so long, I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. I would always be like, I'm eating the brown rice and eating a ton of it, right? Because everyone's like, it's so much healthier for you. Liv, do you want to hit on that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because a lot of people get confused about it. Really, the brown rice has maybe like slightly more fiber in it, but it's really not going to make that much of a difference. For people that do have diabetes, it is important that you use your glucose monitor and see what specific carbohydrate foods are increasing your blood sugar to a certain amount, because every person's glycemic index or how much their blood sugar spikes is going to be different. But for the average person, it really does not matter, like white rice to brown rice. It's not going to make a big difference. Only if you have diabetes do you really want to be particular about it. But in terms of like white or brown, like the arsenic, I guess, yes, there could be some arsenic in brown rice. So you want to be careful if you're eating a lot of it every single day. Another thing too, when it comes to more of like female clients, or even males, sometimes you have to worry about the estrogen, but a lot for females, or if you have a history of breast cancer, there can be an increase in estrogen levels with eating more brown rice all of the time. So again, if you have a history of breast cancer or had cancer, it may be something that you want to pay attention to. But for the most part, if you're eating a variety of carbs, which again is something that we always preach, eating a variety of foods, then maybe you have to be particular careful with how much brown rice you're eating if that's like your main source of carbohydrates, 2 or 3 meals every single day out of the week. That's when these levels can be more, you want to be more careful and think about that. But yeah.
Thank you. Coach Liv is our RD here, our registered dietitian on our team. So all of the knowledge, which is so helpful. Any other questions about carbs?
There's another question in the chat. Do you have to log veggies on MyFitnessPal?
That's a really great question. Yes, I highly suggest logging your veggies. Different vegetables are going to have different macronutrients, right? So some vegetables might be very high in carb. Tracking your vegetables will also help you keep track of your fiber intake, since we can get a lot of fiber from your vegetables. I highly suggest tracking fruits and vegetables in MyFitnessPal. Right.
All right, next up. So fats. So fats are needed to help our bodies absorb all of the nutrients. And again, what Coach Hannah said, they help with hormone and cell function in the body. Healthy fats examples are things like nuts, so almonds, the hazelnuts, and then your oils. So you got your extra virgin olive oil, then avocados, and dairy is whole milk for fats as well.
Yep. So these are going to be great, healthy fat sources for you. You're also going to find a lot of like high fat foods are going to be your processed foods, because they're going to be adding that extra fat in order to preserve the foods. So just be careful when you're looking at high processed foods. Just look at your fat intake, especially when it comes to like condiments or dressings. You might find that they might be like a mayonnaise based dressing or a olive oil based dressing, or it could just be like a higher fat dressing. So always look at your condiments and track those, especially if you're tracking your macros and say you're like really trying to be in a calorie deficit. You should be using a food scale, especially with your condiments and your dressings, and the oils. That's a big one too. A lot of us will be tempted to just eyeball it, pour the oil in and be like, oh, that looks like a tablespoon, but that could be putting you over like 120 calories for that day. And if you're doing that every single day, then you're up 900 calories plus for the week, which could be affecting your weight loss goal. Alrighty, so what does this all mean? Macros build up our total calories that we consume each day. So on your right, you will see this is kind of what our app looks like, which is what we use with all of our clients. We usually will start off with a protein and calorie goal for our clients, and then eventually add in fats and carbs. Especially if you are new to tracking food, I highly suggest starting with a protein goal and then move on in the future into fats and carbs. That way you're not overwhelming yourself, but also it can be a lot at first, right? So for example, if you eat, which do not take this as I am telling you to eat this much. This is just 100% just easy math for me, which is why I use these numbers. So for example, if you eat 100 grams of carbs, 100 grams of protein, and 70 grams of fat, your total calories for the day would be 1430, right? So 1,430 calories. Like I said, this is very low. Do not use these numbers, but this is just an example. So the reason we do 100 times 4 is that's going to be, you have 100 grams of carbs. Each gram is going to be 4 calories. So you're multiplying it there. Then you have your protein, 100 grams times 4. That's going to be 400. And then you have 70 grams of fat times 9, because fat is more calorie dense. It's most calorie dense macronutrient. So 9 calories per gram for fats. Then you get 1430 as your total calories. So what you can do here, say you have your macronutrient goal of where your protein is 150 grams, then you would change that and do times 4. This is going to give you your calorie goals. But when you're tracking your macros, it's not super important that you're looking at your calories, because they are going to be adding up to your calories at the end of the day. So tracking your macros can help you make sure you're eating enough of the right foods every single day to hit your specific physique or, fat loss goal.